You may want to keep track of bed numbers. We're going to look in and see that we are in our drive folder that we've titled HMIS. We still see our case notes, our templates. We see our assessment sheet, our assessment form, I should say, with its corresponding assessment sheet. And it has the case notes, and it has its corresponding case notes response sheet. It has services form as well as services sheet. But now we're going to add a new form, and this form is going to be just like we did before. Google will create a new form, and we can either title it from here or from here. We'll just title it this way. It's going to be called Bed Check-in / out. And we're going to click up here and it'll update it. We'll just say check-in / out ? On this option, the first option, we will say check-in. On the second option, check out. We actually have it where we want it with multiple choice. The next thing we want to do is create a section. Just for consistency's sake, we will make it required. We want to add a section, which is something we haven't done before. Make sure we're selected here, and we're just going to, right here is the add the section button, and I'm going to select, and we have a brand new section. We haven't dealt with sections yet, but in this form we're going to need a section. We have the option of checking in or checking out. This section will be check-in section, check-in, and we're actually going to start building our form from here, and later on we'll build new sections, but for now we're going to keep everything together after we've made just 2 sections. We need another add-on to do this bed list, and we don't have it in our list. All we have is Doc Appender, Form Publisher, Form Ranger, which are good, but they're not going to suit our needs. So what we need to do is go into add-ons. We're going to shop for something called Check It In, Check It Out. And we see it down here at the bottom. We are going to select it. It's going to ask permission. Okay. Now we're going to load Check It In, Check It Out. And I want to assign a date here. So I'm going to, on this check-in section, we want to know what date they checked in. I know it gives a timestamp for everything, but it'll be important to be able to know the check-ins by check-in date. We are going to add a date. We were just going to go date. We don't want to worry about time. We're going to call this check-in date. We're going to make it required. Okay, now we're going to go back to Check It Out add-on. Okay, it's a very interesting add-on. It wants us to have a question set. It's already selected on Add New. If we've already started using it, it would have different drop downs in this section, but right now we haven't done anything with it, so we just have Add New. Before I continue on here, I just want to show you how this works. We'll do more multiple choice. We'll just say items, and I'm going to leave this like it is, and I'll leave this like it is, and I'm going to add. This starts with check out, and then it ends with check in, but actually that's not what we want. We'll manipulate that later. Right now I just want to show you how it works. Option 2, option 3, option 4, option 5. We're going to call this option 1. Well, let's test this. Preview it. Okay, what do you want to do? Check in. Right now it's not going to matter what we do. We're going to go to check in, and we're just going to choose option 1, and we're going to go submit. Okay, when we go to submit another response, I hit option 1, it's no longer there anymore. It moved it into this section. And then if I do option 2, submit, I'm going to do this again. Now look, it moved both of my selections down here, and it saved them. We're going to hit the submit button, and now instead of checking something on this list, I'm just going to hit this list, and then I'm going to hit submit. And then when I go to submit another response, and then let's just hit checkout, now we see the option that I hit down here went back up here. And so that's how this check-in and checkout app works. Going back into the form, we're going to have to be able to manipulate this. We need to go back into check it out. Here in this section, I'm actually going to delete what I had because I only had it up to illustrate how this works. And there's a trash can right here to delete it. And I'm going to delete the second portion. There we go. Start over here in section 2, and we're going to add a question set. What we want is to start out with text and end with multiple choice. We want to set this out to name plus bed number. And on this, we don't really need something telling us that all items are checked out. And we're going to delete this as well. Now that we have our check in and out section named, hit add. And there it is. They're worded not like we want. What we want is this to be check in name plus bed, and this is going to be check out name plus bed. We can name them anything we want. This is a short answer text. What we want to do is make it required, and then we're going to add some validation in it. Our data validation, we want a text, we want to contain, and we want simply that. Just one dash. And then the custom error text we want format last name, comma, first name, middle initial. And then here's the important thing, the dash. The only thing it's going to check for is that dash, and until that dash is put in, it's going to give an error message and it will not allow to submit the form. But this dash is very important because it helps us keep track of the person's bed number. No one's going to put this dash unless they're going to put the corresponding bed number. We want to put that as a description as well. Description, format. It's going to be just like our data validation. Last name, comma, first name, middle initial, dash, number. The person is actually going to type in the person's name and assign a bed number. We need the name typed in because we cannot do it from a drop-down list. And the reason why we can't use Form Ranger to populate this bed list is because they need to type in the bed number here at the top. And Form Ranger does not allow somebody to type in something on the side. And we got to have something typed in on the side so that we know what their bed number is. We need to do a little bit more because we have to let the person checking in know which beds are available. In order to do that, what we need to do is make another check-in and check-out item, which is going to require each person checking in to do two things. It's also going to require somebody checking out to make two entries. What we're going to do is go back into check it in, or I should say it's check it out. It's mainly designed for somebody who's checking out things, but we're doing it reverse. We're having people check in a bed, which doesn't hurt its functionality. Now on this one, we're going to add a new item. See, we had our old item here. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to call this just simply bed number. We've simply called this bed numbers, and we are going to make this choose from list. Get rid of these. And get rid of these. It just notifies you that all items are checked in or out. When it's empty, we don't really need that. Now we're going to add, and immediately it gives you a separate section down here. Well, what we're going to call this is, to help us think about this and to make it right, we're going to call this check in bed number, and we're going to call this check out bed number. This isn't really going to care where you put it, so I'm going to put it where we need it, which is in the check-in section. There it is, right there. We have check-in name plus bed number. They're going to type it out. They're going to type in their bed number, and then they're also going to go on a drop-down list and put in their bed number. Let's just make it very small. We're going to call this bed 1. Actually, let's not just call it bed. I think we know that's a bed number. Let's make the other option 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just give it 10 bed numbers. That's done. The one thing we want to make sure is we make sure everything is required. I'm going to go check in bed. I'm going to make it required. Check out name plus bed. I'm going to make it required. Our next thing we're going to do is we're going to add more sections. We have check-in, and everything right now is in check-in. We don't want that. We want check-in and check-out to be their own separate sections. We are going to add a section right after this check-in bed number. This is the section button. Click it. Now we have another section. Section 2 is check-in with the check-in date, name plus bed number, and then the bed number by itself. The next section is section 3, and we're going to call that check out. And I'm just going to put a description in here. Please type in name and bed number, then select bed number. So they're actually putting in bed number twice, and we'll see why they need to do that later. The long and short of it really is that it'll help us with the bed list, and it'll help us with checking out. What we're going to do is add another section. Before we go on, we want to add another item. We want it before everything else. We want this to be a date item, and we're going to call this check out date, and we're going to make it required. We have our checkout date, checkout name plus the bed. That'll automatically be posted, and the checkout bed will also automatically be posted. Everything is required. So we're ready to make our fourth and final section, and we will do that here by clicking on this. Our fourth and final section is staff member name. We're going to populate this with Form Ranger. What we're going to do is we're going to add a drop-down list, and what this is going to do is going to be populated from Form Ranger. We're going to make it required. We're going to call this staff member. We're not going to fill this in. We're going to let Form Ranger fill it in for us. But before I do that, I'm going to also add another section here. I'm going to say new staff member. I'm going to make this a short answer. And we're not going to make it required, but we are going to give a description. And the description is going to say, enter only if new staff member is selected above. I'm going to put quotes around this, and we are just about done with this sheet. The only thing we need to do is populate our staff members. Once again, we're going to go into Form Ranger, select it. In Form Ranger, we need to populate the very last list, which is down here. It's a drop-down list, and you can't see it, but it's down there. So I'm going to click on it, and now I'm going to say populate from values list, and that's going to let me select, and I got to select a new values list. It's going to take us back into our sheets and forms again. We want our lists folder, and for whatever reason the window is small, but we can still scroll down and see it. There's our list, and we do it just like we did last time. We have services and staff members, but it's already selected a staff member, so let's choose that, and we're going to hit next, and we're going to say save and populate question. Okay, so looking down at our staff members, we see it populated it, and we see the first selection is new staff member. So if they select new staff member here, they can write in the name of that new staff member down here. I'm actually going to X out of Form Ranger. Okay, now that we finished filling the basic form out, what we need to do is direct where the form goes to based on the user's decisions. The user is going to start out at the top, and they're going to start out with the question of, do you want to check in or check out? Google Forms allows you to select which section you want to go in based on your selection. So in order to do that, we're going to select this question, check in, and then we're going to go down here to these three dots, and it'll say go to section based on the answer. And so we're going to select that, and now it gives us a little drop down menu here, and we're going to select this, and if they decide to say check in, we're going to say go to the check-in section. On the checkout section, if they decide to go to the checkout section, we go to the checkout section. Because normally what would happen if we didn't do this is it would go straight to check-in, because this said continue to next section. In between these two sections, there is a middle that tells you where each section will go to after they're done with the previous section. This section here says go to the next section, but that will be overrode by this. If they select check-in, it'll actually go to section 2, which is actually the next section. But if they say check out, it'll say go to section 3, check out, which will be down here, and it'll skip this. That makes it very nice to deal with our form. That way the user is only concentrating on check-in or check-out, and they don't have to sort out all the information on one form. Scrolling down to the form, when somebody is done checking in, what we want to do is after they finish selecting the name and the bed number and the check-in date, we don't want them to go to the next section here. If they did, they would go straight to check-out, which is not going to be very usable. What we want to do is select this drop-down box, and it tells you what section to go to after they're done with the previous section. And here we have several options, but what we want to do is go to staff member name, section 4. We want to do that the same with checkout. Although it says continue on with next section, it would automatically do it. We're just going to do that anyways. We're going to go to section 4, staff member name. And with staff member name, it is the last section, and every last section will simply just let you submit the form when you're done. Now we're going to preview this. We hit the preview button, we go back in, and it's going to say bed check in and out, question mark. We're going to say check in. We hit next. It takes us to the bed check in section, and we're just going to throw in a date, check in name plus. Now I'm going to say 1 client, first name. I'm not going to give them a middle initial, well maybe I will, P, and then the dash. Now it'll finally let me submit, but you're not going to put a dash without a bed number, so I'm going to give them bed 1. And then the check-in bed, I'm going to give them bed 1, and now I can go next. Here I am in the staff member name, and I'm going to just choose a staff member, any staff member, and it's not new, so I don't need to put anything in there, and I'm going to submit, and I'm going to do another one. We're going to check in about 3 or 4 times. We've just checked 4 people in, and here we see these are the 4 people we've checked. We know our bed list by simply looking at the checkout section. It sorts them in alphabetical order, and then it shows us the corresponding bed number. And of course it also shows us the corresponding bed numbers that were selected along with them. You may be asking, why have them enter the bed number twice, here and here? If somebody's checking in a real client, they're going to want to know which beds are available. They won't know what beds are available without this. We've checked people in, now we're going to check people out. We're going to check a couple of people out. 14. And we'll check out number 1. And then we have to choose the bed number. Now if I try to do it without choosing the bed number, it'll make me do it anyways, so which is good. And here's the reason why we typed it in, is in order to get a bed list, we need to match the name with the number. I'll just keep on 1. If they did not type in the number, then they wouldn't know which bed to choose from down here. So we're going to go next. Staff member name, we'll give a different staff number, and submit. We're going to do it again. We're going to check out. Next. Go to client. Okay, and now hit next. We're going to give them an orange staff again and submit. Okay, now that we've checked some people in and out, what we're going to do is go and look at our response list. And to do that, we've done it just like we did before. And we go here. We want it to create a new spreadsheet. These are the responses I showed you when I did the demonstration of how the Check It Out add-on works. But here we're going to delete them. And these are the responses we just put in. We checked in 4 people. The check-in date was here. We checked in 1 client, 2 client, 3 client, 4 client. The bed number, we can make this actually a little bit smaller. And the checkout date, we can make that a little bit smaller. And the names must be bigger. Bed must be smaller. Okay, so make this a little smaller. And we can make this a little smaller. Okay, so now we see a history, and we see that 1 client checked in and out. We see the bed they checked out of, staff member names, and if a new staff member came in, the name of the new staff member. And this would allow you to keep track of all people in all beds. This has been part 4, the bed check-in and out system for an HMIS system for a small agency.